of companies hire people because of their soft skills and how they can communicate with colleagues, and it calls teamwork. I am not team player at all. I dislike working in the group of people for one goal that is not mine. So actually I think that I'm a very awful worker in some times, because it is more about my character that I like to be a son, and everything should be around me. Since childhood, my mother cared about me, and actually she is a very powerful woman, but she did everything for me. She earned money, made a career, and all clothes, everything, the best was for me. Food, for example, car. I have now car that is much better than we could afford, and my clothes, she always bought the most beautiful, the best issues, not for herself but for me. And this kind of care maybe is not so practical, and I am a very selfish person, but it is what I have now. I really like when somebody do everything for me, and I am not so involved in some kind of work that I can delegate. So I really like to run a business and run people. I like to be the leader of a group when they work for me and for my goal. For example, when I finished my school, I had a lot of tutors, 3 for each subject. So I needed to pass my state exams, and very often people take on the job only one tutor. For example, I needed to pass math, Russian, and English. So I made my own program by myself. I saw that this tutor is better in this part of this exam, and this person, it is more comfortable for me to train with him another part of exam. And they tried to say that we should do everything and something like that, but they didn't really know that I have another tutor, and they didn't take responsibility for the result. So the main idea, they want money, and I want a result. And in many cases, individual people, like individual person, is better in some steps, in some points, not in everything, very often. And it is a common thing for the whole picture of running business. So for one person, it is much easier to write different articles, essays, and something like that. And for another, it is the most difficult task, and he is better in planning, for example, or in management, or in listening to other people. And that is why when you hire a person, you see his drawbacks, and that is why I tried to combine and made a system that would work for for my result. And only such a way of communication, teamwork, can be available for me, I think. So at school and at university, I had a lot of projects, so I needed to do something in team, and now I understand that it is awful. I don't really like it because I spend a lot of energy in giving some like tasks and how it should work, but anyone don't really want to do something like this, so they don't feel that I'm a powerful, that I'm a leader, and it is because they are free people. When I work with another person, when I take on job, this person, he needs to think about me and to listen to me, what I really want. And when we talk about my peers, they don't really think that they should do something that I very often tell them. So the problem is that I can organize the process only when people I don't know, understand that I am a leader and I am a boss. But in many cases, it is very difficult to do when you communicate with your peers. And it is not so easy for me to make a compromise. And yes, of course, I can do it and I can work in team, but the result, I don't really like it. And for example, some days ago, there was like a situation when I needed to do a presentation with one girl. She is my classmate, and the role of us, the contribution to the project was something like that. I made the whole things. She did nothing. And maybe she think that she did something, I don't know. But presentation, I found information and I think it is the whole picture. And we had not the best result because of her. Because when she made a speech, I didn't I didn't look at paper very often, so I told about my subject, and she read everything, and the teacher told us that your team did everything not so good. She told that we read everything and we didn't have examples, but in my case I did examples. I didn't read, and it is something like that. So I don't understand why I should have worse results because of another person, and only because of the fact that, for example, in another situation that was a bit earlier, when I had a project with two girls, they made some mistakes, and I did everything excellent, and they sometimes said, for example, that I have so for example, we had three themes inside the theme, and I wanted to find one theme that was connected with data. So I work with documents earlier. I'm an investment advisor, and that is why I saw a lot of summaries, documents for investors and public companies. They always publish their financial results, and so I knew where I can find this theme. And then she told me that, oh, I have already found everything, then you should do another point that I didn't really want. And then when I did this point, the result was that she actually didn't find information for the first point, and we had like a 0 for one of 3 points. And maybe it was not so awful result, but the fact that I really was able to find this information and she didn't give me opportunity to do this, and then she did nothing, and she took my part of information that I have found, and she answered this. So it is awful. I don't really like it, and it is a very common thing when I make some projects with my peers. And very often some people are not so, maybe they are not stupid, but in some cases they are not so active, they're not able to find information very fast and something like that. So they sometimes can be lazy, and in very cases I am a very good speaker, and I can do like improvisation. And if a teacher asks us some question about our presentation that we haven't prepared, I can, because of my big basic of knowledge, find like an answer to this question. And so there are a lot of cases when I take us from the sea, and that is why I don't really like such kind of work. And if we talk about teamwork, it is always about relationships with people. So I'm not able to say something to another person because I don't want to break up our relationships. So it is more profitable for me to be in good relationships with this person, and that is why I see not the best results, and I don't really like them, because when I do everything by myself, when I made a presentation by myself, I had better results than the whole group of people, all my classmates. So there were a lot of situations when teacher told that you should do something in a group of people, but I didn't find group of people because of deadline and something like that, and I did everything by myself. And in that situation, when everybody told their presentation and I was at the end of the line, I got the better results than all of them. And maybe it depends on the fact that I am able to answer questions of teacher, that during the speech of that people that were earlier than my presentation, I listened to teacher, and then in the process, at the moment, I started to change something, and then everything was correct in the points that teacher wants. And at work, I don't really like when people are not so qualified. And when I worked in investment company, I worked with colleagues, people, and actually I didn't have any projects, but I didn't like to do this. So it is very hard work. I need too much energy. I make I make a contribution to the project that is not my goal very often. So I would like to repeat that for me, the one and the best way of teamwork is only when I am a leader, when people work for me and do everything that I really want. And so I have like a feature. So I think that I am not a very good boss. I was in situation when I had like employer and employee and worker. So I had worker and I was like a boss, not so big boss, but I was boss at work. And at that case, I remember that I am not the best. If I had more power, then, for example, maybe that case I didn't was able to hire, to fire that person. That is why I was more flexible. But in case when I hire a person, for example, I had a tutor for German and I needed her to help to prepare for my exams at university. And at that case, I remember that I take all like juice from the person. So I think that I'm not the best boss at itself, so I will not be very kind. I will not help people very often, so I will need all their energy that they can give me for my project, so like a vampire. And the result, but in a case of result, I would be the best boss actually, I think, because I can control situation, I can be confident in myself, and I can take responsibility for the process. It is a very important feature, way of character that you should have if you want to be boss. So I am very flexible with people that are free, but if they are in my power, I would do everything that I can to have better results.